What if I told you that by 2030 Jakarta could be underwater? Millions are already losing their home, and it could happen to your city too. Today, we'll explore a city sinking beneath the waves, struggling against climate pressures, and another city that's fighting back and thriving. As a civil engineer, I believe that together we can engineer a sustainable tomorrow. But first, we need to understand the challenges our cities face. But right now, over 10 million people in Jakarta can't wait for those long-term solutions. They are watching their homes and their lives slowly disappear. So, how did it come to this? And why is Jakarta literally sinking beneath our feet? The first problem lies hidden beneath our very feet. Jakarta, a mega city built on soft soils. It wasn't equipped to support its exploding population. Without access to a central water supply system, many communities turned to groundwater as their main source of drinking water. But over the years, they have pumped out so much water that the ground itself has started to collapse by up to 25 centimeters a year. This is a process called land subsidence. Normally, water pressure in the underground aquifers, they help keep soil layers stable. But as groundwater is extracted, that pressure drops and the layers compress and settle, like a sponge losing water. Now, here's where things get even worse. As the city sinks, it drops below sea level and lower than the surrounding areas. So when heavy rain hits, there's nowhere for the water to go. Nowhere but into Jakarta. Because water always flows to the point of lowest pressure, in this case straight into Jakarta. The result? 220 floods a year. Imagine watching your roads turn into rivers, your homes into islands, again and again, while the ground beneath your feet is still sinking. And on top of all that, the sea is still rising. Jakarta sits just 2 meters above mean sea level, and sea level rise projections are only getting more extreme. Even the most positive models suggest parts of Jakarta could be underwater by 2030. So, what's being done? Well, the government launched a massive seawall project to hold back the ocean. Sounds like a good step, right? But behind that wall, another plan is unfolding. The government has chosen to spend $35 billion or 31 billion euros not on saving Jakarta, but on leaving it behind. They are building a brand new capital city, Nusantara, on the island of Borneo. While construction begins on this new future, 10 million people are being left behind, left to sink beneath the rising tides. And Jakarta is far from alone. From New York to Bangkok, hundreds of cities are at risk. But why? Why are these hubs of progress, supposedly built for the future, so incredibly vulnerable? The answer? It starts with this. Most of our cities were literally built for the wrong century. Their infrastructure was designed for a climate that no longer exists, based on decade-old weather patterns. But today, the rules have changed. We face more heat, more rain, more people, and rising seas. To make matters worse, we have placed our biggest cities right next to the biggest threats, rivers and coastlines. It made sense at the time. Those locations powered trade and growth, but today they mean exposure to storm surges, floods, and rising sea levels. And these cities, they're growing fast, often faster than their systems can handle. More people means more pressure on water, power, housing, and roads. And the way we build, it only makes matters worse. Cities don't just suffer from climate change, they amplify it. Concrete traps heat, asphalt accelerates water runoff. The result? Hotter, wetter, more dangerous environments. But Not every city is waiting to drown. Some are adapting. Some are even thriving. Let's take a look at Rotterdam, a city that's turning water from a threat into an opportunity. While Jakarta is sinking under the pressure, Rotterdam has learned to rise above it. But how did these two cities end up on such different paths? Rotterdam faces enormous threats. It's almost entirely below sea level, constantly challenged by the North Sea, floods, rising tides, and storms. And yet, this city isn't retreating. For years, Rotterdam has been aware of the danger, rising seas, and shifting extremes. They knew they had to act early, before disaster struck. But they also understood one thing clearly. They couldn't keep the water out forever. So, they redesigned the city. They didn't just build barriers, they redesigned Rotterdam to safely control and even use the water. Plazas were built to be playgrounds on dry days and floodwater storage during storms. Sponge infrastructure was created to hold excess water during storms and to cool off the city during a heat wave. Streets were redesigned to channel water temporarily and safely, while rooftops now hold gardens. This isn't an emergency response, it's generational planning. Every part of the city, from playgrounds to parks, is designed to handle a shifting, wilder climate, holding or steering water in storms, cooling the city during droughts. Rotterdam didn't wait for a disaster. It imagined a future with more water and built a city ready to welcome it. Together, they built a sustainable tomorrow. Now the question is, what path will your city take? We have seen what happens when cities ignore the warning signs and what's possible when they act. Worldwide, every city stands at a crossroad, stay still and collapse under the pressure of a changing climate, or take action and start adapting. The difference isn't just about money, it's about vision, leadership, and the power of communities coming together. Some cities, like Rotterdam, are preparing with bold plans and innovative solutions to thrive in a changing world. Others, like Jakarta, are already struggling with changes that come too fast and may be doomed if nothing happens. Not all cities face the same threat. Some are battling encroaching deserts like Phoenix. Others face rising seas like Venice. Some drown in urban floods like Lagos. Others face severe drought and water shortages like Cape Town. But every city has its own challenges, and the question is, what challenge is your city facing? And what are they planning to do about it? Here's one way to start. Look at your city's plans. Are they thinking 30 years ahead? Investing in clean infrastructure, cooling solutions, or flood protection? Are they engaging communities or just reacting to disasters? Because the truth is, your city is at risk. So ask yourself, will it sink like Jakarta or rise above it all like Rotterdam? This isn't just about governments, communities, designers, engineers, and even students. Everyone is shaping what comes next. And you can be part of that too. Let me know in the comments, what's your city doing to prepare? And what changes do you want to see? Today was just the first step in our mini-series on the urban climate crisis. Next week, we are going to dive into what a sustainable city truly looks like and what we can learn from it. So, hit that subscribe button and let's build a sustainable tomorrow together. And if you want to explore more climate challenges, check out this playlist right here. It's full of insights that will change how you see your city and cities worldwide.